Here are 5 less obvious qualities that women find attractive in a man. And a couple of things before I jump into these 5 tips here for you. This is for men who have probably heard the typical dating advice that you need to be funny, you need to be confident, the more obvious qualities that you need to develop within yourself. We're going to get into some more subtle qualities that are extremely important but often overlooked. Secondly, this is about attracting good women into your life. So, this is what good quality women are going to look for in a man across the board. Number one is you are decisive but unattached. It's this unique combo that makes a woman very attracted to you. She wants a man who can make decisions with ease and with clarity. So if you struggle to know where you're going to take her on a date or where you should go for dinner, or you leave all these decisions up to her, that is going to be unattractive to her. Women want a man who can lead. That is masculine energy. So if being decisive does not come naturally to you, you need to train yourself to do this and start acting as if you already are decisive. Start using your imagination to see yourself in this way. Some men were raised this way, but most were not. Especially if you did not have a strong father figure, there's a good chance that you struggle with being indecisive in your life. On the flip side of this, you don't want to be attached to the decisions you make. There needs to be a feeling of free flowing energy in your dynamics with women. So if you're too rigid about your decisions, then she's going to feel that you are insecure or fearful. Attachment in general is a huge attraction killer for women. Women want a man who is open to possibility, who remains spacious, and once again can go with the flow. And that takes us to number two, which is to be spontaneous but also grounded. Spontaneity is one of the most important qualities that a woman looks for in a man. In a sense, what you're doing by being spontaneous is mirroring back to her a certain kind of playful, childlike energy that all women find very, very attractive. And a lot of women notice that men have lost this in the modern age. Adults, men over the age of 18, even, most of them are not living in spontaneity. They are living in the opposite, which is their mind, their intellect, their thinking mind. And most men are deeply attached to their thoughts, and they are too careful about how they plan things. They're too careful about what they say. They have too much of a filter over themselves, and they're too self-conscious. They care too much what others think, and a lot of their ability to just go with the flow and make decisions from a place of what's here now, what's in the moment, it has been severed off. So you want to be unpredictable. You want to remain mysterious. You want the woman to feel like she's guessing what's coming next. And this doesn't need to be any sort of heavy handed thing. It's more in your energy, it's more in the way you carry yourself and having that childlike quality of whatever happens, happens, and whatever arises, I'm totally cool with. At the same time, you want to be grounded. Some men who are spontaneous are reckless, they're immature. And we're not talking about just being impulsive or just living for the moment here, because usually that translates into acting like a child as an adult. You want to be spontaneous, which means maintain that kind of childlike innocence and ability to let things roll, but also be an adult, be the man, be responsible, be grounded and centered, know yourself on a deep enough level that you can combine these two in a seamless way. Number three is effortless charm. Effortless charm means that you do not have to try to be charming or funny or witty with a woman. You know how to engage in banter with her or be playful with her in a way that is as natural to you as breathing. Women can tell when you're trying to be charming, when you're efforting it, when you're having to use some willpower to make her laugh or to come across as smooth or elegant or whatever it is. What you want to do is cultivate a state of natural charm. So this is just who you are. It's your default setting. It's not something you have to work at or try for. It just is part of your core identity. The best way to do this is number one, through practicing and imagining, acting as if you're already this, and you start to carry yourself in time and space as if you're already charming. Now, at first, this may feel like it requires some effort. It may feel like you're trying to do this, but with repetitive practice, this does become more of your default setting. More importantly, though, is to examine in your psyche what is blocking effortless charm. What is it that is making you feel like you can't just be charming as a natural byproduct of who you are? And what you'll notice if you go deeply enough is that you have limiting beliefs, you have insecurity, you care what other people think too much. You're you care more about what she thinks about you than what you think about you. True effortless charm is coming from a place of I don't care at all what other people think of me, and I'm totally unattached to the outcome. And I'm just going to trust myself, trust my voice, and let it rip. And whatever comes out is what's meant to come out. In a sense, it's like getting into a certain kind of flow state when you're with other people, with women in particular, that your first impulse, your first thought is always best. It's always what's right. And that's what you're training yourself to do when you align with this state of effortless charm. You're trusting that initial instinct to say whatever you want to say and know that you really can't screw it up. And even if you do screw it up, you don't really care because you're not really attached to outcomes. So that's how it becomes effortless, is through repetitive practice, so that you can make it a form of unconscious competence, and then combine that with clearing the inner blocks that are preventing you from exuding natural charm. And that, once again, is going to come in the form of limiting beliefs, fear, doubt, and self consciousness, being attached to the outcomes. Number four, don't take anything too seriously, but you still show that you care. And this can be a tricky one for a lot of men. A lot of men are definitely wired to take things too seriously, to take themselves too seriously, number one, where they are insecure and they care a lot about what the woman thinks or other people think. And number two is to take her too seriously. So if you can refrain from taking yourself too seriously, and secondarily to from taking her too seriously, now you are going to be profoundly more attractive to women. Most men are taking themselves too seriously because of insecurity, because they care too much what others think, because they are attached to the outcomes. And once again, if you go back to the first couple of points here, spontaneity, unpredictability, not being attached to the outcomes is what builds attraction in a woman. If you're attached, if you're insecure, what you're going to do is put out a vibe that says, I really do care and I'm rigid and I take myself too seriously and I could get butthurt really easily and I care about your opinions of me. So I'm going to filter myself and just say things that I think are tame or that you want to hear. On the flip side, some men that don't take themselves very seriously do it in kind of a cold or apathetic way, where once again, it's a sign of being immature or childish, but not in a positive way here. So you still want to show that you care. Women actually do not respond well. Good women do not respond well to just pure apathy or coldness towards them or indifference. Women want to feel that you care. They want to feel your desire without the neediness. And the only way that you can do this is to set a clear boundary with yourself where you always maintain that sense of playfulness in the dynamic. You do not take her too seriously, and you do not take yourself too seriously. And those two tend to go hand in hand. If you take yourself too seriously, by default, you are going to take her too seriously. And that means that you get super invested in her emotions. You take a lot of what she says personally, and you get wrapped up in the roller coaster ride of her day to day feelings and thoughts and opinions. You want to have a tremendous amount of space around what she shows up with and let her come, let her go, let her say what she says, let her have her opinions, let her have her emotional storm clouds. You don't take any of it too seriously. And you don't get too invested when she shit tests you or when she argues with you. You refrain from lowering yourself to that standard of getting enmeshed in arguments or verbal spats or anything that depletes your energy and feels like a waste of time. Number five, humility that is backed by confidence. Of course, we hear as men that you need to be confident with a woman. Women crave confidence. They're deeply attracted to confidence. We all know this, and this is, of course, true. However, it's equally important to be humble with a woman. Women, good women, don't want a man who just brags and boasts and is arrogant and puts himself first in a way that is just selfish or makes her feel like he obviously cares more about himself than me. That is a vibe that you don't want to convey to women because once again, it's coming from insecurity. True humility is backed by supreme confidence. This means that you're willing to let her do 80% of the talking. You're willing to let her, in a sense, kind of dominate the interactions and talk a lot and show what she's all about and brag about herself and try to get more information from you. But you remain a little bit aloof, a little bit quiet, a little bit mysterious. But that's not coming from coldness or arrogance. It's coming from humility. It's coming from this clear recognition that you don't need to impress her. You don't need to show all of the impressive things about you or to get that validation. You're willing to just hang out and be a little bit quiet, be a little bit overlooked if that's what happens. But there's a mystery to it. There's a depth. There's a certain level of substance that you tap into when you are truly humble. True humility is backed by confidence. They're really the same thing. It's just flip sides of the same coin. You cannot have true humility without confidence, and you cannot have true confidence without humility. Confidence that is arrogant is not confidence, it's insecurity. And a lot of men in our modern age are still very much wired to talk a lot about themselves and to try to prove why they're worthy of the woman, try to prove why they have all the accolades and the qualities that the woman wants. I encourage you to refrain from doing this and instead let the woman come to you. Let it build slowly over time. You don't need to work too hard at it. You don't need to try too hard. You don't need to impress her in an overtly aggressive or assertive way. Let the natural dynamic unfold in the way that it's meant to, and be calm, be spacious, be non reactive. Allow her to do most of the talking and enjoy the kind of quiet, humble vibe that you're putting out, knowing that that's ultimately what builds attraction for her. If she's a good woman, if she's somebody worthy of your time. So if you've enjoyed these 5 tips, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be sharing a lot of videos that cover unconventional dating advice that you won't hear anywhere else. Or at least if you do hear it, it's going to go a little bit deeper. It's going to stretch your thinking. I'm going to come at it from more subtle or nuanced angles and combine it with a little deeper level of spiritual and emotional development, because that's ultimately what makes all the difference with women. Having the practical skill set is extremely important. Knowing how to take women on dates successfully, knowing how to banter, knowing how to create a dynamic that leads to deeper levels of intimacy with her quickly. But at the same time, you need to shift your core identity in a way that is genuine and authentic. And that's what we're getting into in this channel. How do you actually become a man that is attractive to women? So if you'd like to learn more about that, shifting your identity to naturally align with these qualities I'm talking about in this video, be sure to subscribe, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next video.